deportations is raising concerns about.
Hey, everybody. But I have to turn this blue button on, don't I?
And then you got to put it in queue.
Also, the burrito or the bag. Want
just a better person than I knew I was.
Hey folks, let's spend some time with some friends up
Show.
north.
I hope
I'm
you
Ben
guys stay
Cominos from
tuned as we talk
WHBY in
to a few
Appleton.
folks,
Joining us from
including Scott
WCPT
Sakima
in
of
Chicago
Chicago.
is
I hope I'm
Patty
saying his name
Vasquez.
right now,
And
and
from the
we'll have,
Minocqua
Kirk
Brewing
Bangstad.
Company, here's Kirk Bangstad. We've got the usual suspects from our Substack page with us, as well as a special guest or two. Wherever you are, welcome, you're up north.
50 Minneapolis, St. Paul. And here we go. We've got the Up North podcast ready to go. And we've got to unmute and get our friends rolled in. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Take it away, Kirk Bangstad, our fearless leader.
Thanks for letting us share your time on WCPT in Chicago. It's Patty Vasquez, who's one of our regular writers on the Minocqua Brewing Company Times on Substack. This is the Up North podcast. We've got a lot of our other guests here tonight. We have Ben Cominos from Outside the Box, WHBY in Appleton. And we have with us Senator Chris Larson from Milwaukee, state senator, who's been helping us understand what the hell's going on in Wisconsin politics. And we have behind the scenes, we have our producer, Amy, who has found our first guest today, who is Scott Sakiyama. And Scott is a lawyer who lives in Oak Park, Chicago, and serves on the rapid response team for their resistance efforts and what's going on in Chicago. And I wanted to briefly, we found something that you had posted on Facebook, and it was going viral because masked ICE agents detained you at gunpoint. And as you were alerting the community about an ICE presence near the Lincoln Elementary School, where your second grade daughter attends, apparently you were removed from your vehicle, handcuffed, and taken to an ICE facility in Broadview. You were accused of impeding an operation, claiming they cut, you cut them off, which sounds like it's fishy. They did a lot of stuff to you that day, and you talked about it on Facebook, and that's how we learned about you. And so we wanted to bring you on because our podcast is all about resistance. Obviously, it's more is happening in Chicago, but one of the key elements of resistance, as I'm sure you know, Scott, is that we monitor, document, and disseminate government abuse so that everybody in America, and in our case, mostly Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota, understands what's happening at the heartbeat of the resistance, which is now Chicago. So, Scott, tell us in your words what happened.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Kirk. So I ended up taking a rapid response call Monday morning, and that took me sort of north and west of Oak Park. And so I finished that. So I was done with the rapid response activity, but had some friends that were out at the Broadview ICE facility just documenting the cars coming in and out so that could be passed on to rapid response teams. And so I just went to check on them, see how they were doing. And then while I was there, an ICE vehicle happened to pull out and head north towards the Interstate 290, which is the way back to Oak Park. So I followed it, and it exited at Oak Park and turned into Oak Park. And then at that point, I was pretty sure that they were aware of me. It looked like one of the agents was like facing backwards and filming out the back window. And so they came to a stop sign, and then two of them jumped out and started walking towards me. So I backed up. They got back in their car. And that was at that point, it was obvious they were aware of me. So I started blowing my whistle and honking the horn. Some folks came out. We passed one elementary school, Irving Elementary School. We kept going for several blocks, which was when we got to Lincoln. And at that point, another car pulled in behind me. I think it was just a random car, but so I was blocked in. They jumped out, told me to open the doors. They had their guns out. They said they were gonna break the windows. And they got me out of the car, put me in the back of the van, and took me to Broadview. And I think I was there for maybe an hour or so until they cited me and brought me back to my car.
What can you tell us about Broadview? Because first of all, how horrifying for you, and thank you for being a part of keeping our neighbors safe, and also for wearing your Bears gear.
Go bear down.
It was brave of you, but in this crowd at least. But what can you tell us about Broadview? You weren't where folks are necessarily being detained. For folks who don't know, it's not a detention center. It wasn't built for that. But what can you tell us?
Right. So I never went into the facility. They kept me outside. Most of the time I was in the van. It's been very calm there, I think, or calmer recently with respect to the federal agents, because the Illinois State Police have really taken over all the crowd control duties, and there are a lot of them there. And so that has really freed up a lot of the federals to be out in the city, whereas before there were 50 federal guys that had to be doing crowd control. Now they're all out in the city because the Illinois State Police have taken that over.
Yeah, and they have gotten a little bit aggressive. What would you recommend for folks? Because I was telling a friend of mine who's also on rapid response, he's gotten caught up in their convoys, and he's worried about also being apprehended the way you were. Do you think that a dash cam would be helpful to folks if you're going to be involved? I mean, and maybe for anybody in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I wasn't really planning to get into that situation, so I wasn't recording. As it turned out, a friend was nearby, and so she took a video. But yeah, 100% of dash cam I think would be a great idea.
So Scott, Chris Larson, state senator up here in Wisconsin. Love everything about you except for the Bears gear, but we'll leave that aside. Question. I was reading the story, and there was one piece that I really wanted to find out more. It said you got a glimpse of a group chat that was going between the ICE officers. Can you tell us more about what that's about?
Yeah, so we're in a minivan, and it's a rental, right? And so one of them clearly had his phone synced to the display for the car. And so while we're sitting in the parking lot at the Broadview facility, they're getting multiple messages, and it says, message from Chirac Team 2, and those kept coming in. And so, I mean, these guys are just, I guess, exactly who we think they are, with these group chats.
How many emojis were flying?
So I don't know that I actually saw the messages, just the name of it, but there were several things where they didn't know what they were doing. They couldn't get from Oak Park back to Broadview without directions. And it is, for those of you who don't know, it's a very straight shot. It's not difficult. The one guy who patted me down kept asking me if I had knives in my pockets, and I think what he meant was something sharp,
yeah,
like a needle, right? But no, he kept saying do you have any knives? So it was just very strange, because in some ways it was really scary, but in other ways it was these guys have no idea what they're doing.
No, that's absolutely the weird part about all this, right? You could put Benny Hill music over it, or you could put the Darth Vader music behind it. They both match. I think they're trying for the Darth Vader side, but as soon as the veil is pulled back, it's you guys don't know what you're doing, right? These are folks, you don't know who they necessarily are. Did you get any indication of what their background was, of what turns in life they have made that got them to the place where they were?
I couldn't get, I didn't really get any sense there. I can tell you they weren't from Chicago. They definitely seemed like the type of people that put ketchup on their hot dogs. But they had no familiarity with the area. So
that's not surprising.
Scott, thanks for being here. Ben Cominos from WHBY. If everyone else is going to comment about it, I'm going to say it too. You guys got the Ravens. I'm a Steelers fan. Let's not let each other down this week, okay? So let's make this happen.
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, I'm going to take it in a more serious direction here. You talk about having the guns pulled on you during this process here. I oftentimes refer to the people of ICE as people so talentless they couldn't do anything else. How long did it take to get to the guns being drawn standpoint? You kind of see it on social media, and it always starts there. And people who want to defend their actions will always say, well, what was the lead up? Well, how quickly did it escalate to that point for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say I had been following them, honking the horn, blowing my whistle for maybe 10 blocks or so. And then when they realized that I had been boxed in, that was when they jumped out. And as far as I can remember, are you getting noise? There's one of my kids is making, okay. So when they jumped out of the car, the guns were immediately out. That part really sort of slows down, or it felt almost like I was watching one of these videos on on the internet that you see of this. Like, it just didn't really feel like I was there. And I just tried to go, as soon as the guns were out, I just didn't move. I didn't say anything, and just,
So that was step 2 then. You're saying step 1 was get out of the car. Step 2 was immediately escalate to that level.
Yes. Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. Right. They clearly, I think that they're operating under this mentality that they are under attack by these left-wing terrorists, and they're acting that way.
And what if it's just your mind goes a million miles an hour? Because what if you didn't maintain your cool? How different this story is today. It's just
right.
It feels intentional sometimes. Thank you for sharing. Sorry you went through that as well.
Thank you.
So Scott, I wanted to talk about the whistles of the Whistle Brigade, and obviously that's how your guys are letting people know that ICE is about. Is that out and about? Is that the extent of how we potentially can protect ourselves in Milwaukee or Madison when this comes to us? Or what else are you doing, or how else can neighbors protect each other?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the rapid response teams, I think, are very important, because you can start to get a sense of what sort of the patterns, but also just verifying activity, because there's a lot of rumors, right? People get scared. And so it can be important to try to actually track down and document what's actually happened. You definitely want to work through an existing group to get some training in Illinois. That's really the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. They're doing a lot of trainings right now, ICER. But they'll just teach you how to be calm in a situation, de-escalate, but also make you aware of the safety risks, because there are a lot of safety risks right now for that. And then, for people in Illinois, you want to be at Broadview protesting, and to the extent there's a similar ICE facility in Milwaukee, I think or Wisconsin, that it's important to show up there and have your voice heard.
Absolutely. Is there I just keep thinking about this. What is the atmosphere like around the rest of Chicago? I was camping with some friends, and they were telling me that the streets just don't have as much life now because ICE is running around everywhere.
I think so. I mean, just the day after this happened. So, right, like the school went into a secure, which is a level of lockdown, right? And the next day, rather than having the kids on the playground before school started, they brought everybody in as soon as they could, right? They're just trying to take these safety measures, and it's everywhere you go, you're worried about these, is that van ICE, is it not? So I think people really have their head on a swivel.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much, Scott, for what you're doing, and I'm so sorry this happened to you, and clearly an abuse of federal power. And I hope to talk to you again if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to connect with our producers here on the show. So thank you so much, Scott. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the media and the marches. Right back after this on WCPT 820, broadcasting the Up North podcast from Monaco Brewing Company on KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950 as well.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season
Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy progressive beer, go to MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC Hop Water. Zero alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC Hop Water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC Hop Water and Joint Session, our THC Orange Cooler, by going to thc.monoclebrewingcompany.com. That's thc.monoclebrewingcompany.com. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Monocle Brewing Company, who sells progressive beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive, which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. To find where you can subscribe to get progressive beer delivered to your door every month, go to monoclebrewingcompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's monoclebrewingcompany.com and click Progressive Beer. The Monocle Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the monoclemarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's monoclemarketplace.com and use the promo code UPNORTH. Hello, we are back to the Up North podcast with Patty Vasquez at WCPT, Ben Cominos, WHBY in Appleton, Senator Chris Larson in Milwaukee. This next segment, I wanted to talk about something I noticed on Sunday after the awesome No Kings Festival. We're going to talk a little bit about the fun stuff of No Kings in a couple minutes. But one thing, the 2 articles I read on Sunday, I read one in the New York Times, which the digital version of the New York Times talked about No Kings at about the 30th article. You know, you had to keep on sliding my phone. And there was, at that point, you know, they had another 30 articles before they even talked about No Kings. And another thing I read, either Sunday or Monday, was The Atlantic, which is, you know, the New York Times is supposed to be the paper of record of America. The Washington Post is already basically folded. Bent the knee to Trump. So the New York Times didn't seem to cover it too much. And then The Atlantic, which is seemingly, you know, one of the most intellectual, political magazines that we have in America, said that they had an article says resistance is cringe, but also it has some good positive effects. So resistance is cringe seems a lot like Fox News saying 3 days after it happened, you know, they're like, it's going to be a bunch of Antifa alluding to minorities, like, you know, fighting in the streets. And then they said, no, it's a bunch of old white people, and that's cringe. And so to me, the New York Times didn't report on it. The Atlantic fell into the Fox trap, which reinforced my opinion that our mainstream media is not meeting the moment during this time. And that's why we're doing these podcasts. That's why Patty's writing and Chris is writing and Ben is writing. And, you know, we're all trying to fill the holes on our Substack and wherever else on your radio programs and you know, Chris in the Capitol. What are your thoughts? Am I the only one that had that sense that the mainstream media was failing us after No Kings, Ben?
Well, I have a slightly different take. And for the record, The Guardian also asked the question, why are the media ignoring the protests? So I don't think your assertion there is unfounded in how you interpreted that. My interpretation of it, not sitting in the rooms, this ticks off my listeners, but I've been calling them the failing New York Times since my show started. I think they do a terrible job of reporting. And I am stealing Trump's verbiage, but I don't like the way they do their job. And go figure, the Jeff Bezos funded Washington Post is bad. Never would have guessed. But the reason I am that I think that it was called fringe, or that some people were a little more nervous to jump into it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is an overcorrection. You want to know who I think that the liberal side of the media is trying to placate is the left, who thinks it wasn't going far enough. I disagree with that sentiment. I think the No Kings protests were absolutely perfect, but I always feel like they're trying to overcorrect for what they believe led to the loss in 2024. I think the No Kings protest, if it would have got violent, you would have saw it covered. It's the fact that everything went off without a hitch. It's the fact that it was friendly, positive people with a positive message that all went home and went to bed afterward, or maybe went to a bar. And that, if it bleeds, it leads. That isn't going to get it done for people.
And I think here in Chicago, you know, we had massive turnouts. I was at a suburban one, Arlington Heights, Palatine, Elk Grove Village. There's a lot of communities that came together. And for me, what I saw were a lot of people who, one, needed the energy of knowing they weren't alone. We can, you know, scroll all day and listen to the radio, and we know that people are angry and things like that. But to be together, and there were a lot of people in inflatable costumes, or with obviously the great signs. I mean, I think what I hope obviously is that people take from that what they need to do next, and which we talked about in our pieces. But there were a lot. We had booths, we had sign up lists for different ways to participate. We also had a mutual aid organization there to collect food and clothing for people in the community. I think there was a lot of that going on. And I remember when Trump and his first administration was doing the Muslim ban, my son Griffin was in high school. I think he was like 13. So just still in middle school. And like for him, knowing that other people were as hurt and outraged as he was, has had a lasting impact, you know. And so I think that that's going to be a piece of that. I saw so many people bring their kids, their courage, there to help each other, to stand together. And I think it was, the cringe thing, that's from people who like don't get what it means to want to stand together and for something. That's all I think. Senator?
Yeah, absolutely. I went down to the one in Milwaukee, and it was joyous. It was like a big group hug, right? It was like a lot of folks that you recognize. And what I thought was I think the most thrilling for me was running into people I'd spoke to at the college Dems on campus, encouraging them to get out a couple weeks before and them coming. But the cool part was of like them bringing their parents with them. And some of them I think were there to chaperone because this was their first protest. I think every single one of them, because when I asked them at the meeting, like, have you ever been to one? And you really need to understand, right, that like you need to bring people out to participate, because there is this idea that that's something that other people do. But to Kirk's point, right, I don't think the media is going to be the ones to report on the demise of democracy, right? This is happening. They are they're in the boiling water along with the frogs. We saw a lot of frogs at these protests, which are great. But I don't think they're really understanding where we're at. They're still on the semantics and the little pieces of it, but not putting this together, right? It's almost the equivalent, right? How much New York Times ink was spilled on the heist in France versus how much they're spilling on the heist that's happening where the White House is being broken down and Donald Trump is planning on giving himself a $230 million check, right? Like, that's on us to tell people that you are saying if you're paying attention to this, and they were out, the crowds are growing, so we got to keep doing it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like the headlines are always just, he just ripped off the east wall of the White House. But it's not like this is, I mean, if I were a reporter, you got to throw this stuff out of the wind at this point. You have to say, this is tearing our country apart. You can't be objective at this point. Maybe that's why I'm not a journalist, but I mean, it's so horrendous that I feel like they're not leaning into the stories. And I say Milwaukee Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, everybody I'm reading that's not coming to me through Substack, like Jim Acosta and Heather Cox Richardson. Patty?
You're muted, Patty.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, is that it wasn't violent. It wasn't what sells. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. We know that's part of it. And also there's still that fear that they all seem to have about Trump. And these newsrooms are all bending the knee, and we know that. So, yeah, That's I know we're gonna talk some more about this. I feel like I should have probably read the what's in the last segment because I do have more stories. So let's take a break here. We are broadcasting the Up North podcast with our sponsor, Minocqua Brewing Company, joined by Ben Cominos from Outside the Box on WHBY. You get that from their app, WHBY.com, fine, whatever. And Senator Chris Larson is going to catch us up on what's going on legislatively in Wisconsin when we come back on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF. Here we go. Only 20 seconds late.
This podcast takes a lot of work behind the
You are
scenes to
listening.
make Kirk and Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace, and we sell everything from nuts to detergents to doormats. Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC Hop Water. Zero alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC Hop Water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC Hop Water and Joint Session, our THC Orange Cooler, by going to thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. That's thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. The Minocqua Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the MinocquaMarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com and use the promo code UpNorth.
All right, guys, we're back to the Up North podcast here on WCPT AM 820. Also on the YouTube, the Facebook, on Substack, everything you can possibly imagine. We're here with Patty Vasquez, Kirk Bangstad, and of course, Senator of the 7th District of Wisconsin, Chris Larson. And Senator, we're actually going to be talking about the moves that Democrats are making right now in the state. I oftentimes joke on my show that you and your colleagues oftentimes escape my ire because unlike the Democrats on the national scene, you're trying to make plays. It's just a matter of having the seats right now, which hopefully in the 2026 midterms might try to change a little bit here. But for right now, what's that resistance look like? What are you guys trying to do to push back? We're still kind of operating at a deficit here.
Yeah, no, I think there's there's a lot of different stories to tell within this. I think the number I'd use right away is 7. We've only met 7 times as a Senate for the entirety of the year. So as I was talking to one of my colleagues on the way back to Milwaukee today, we were just recognizing that they've gerrymandered themselves in for so long that they did all the stuff that they want to do, but actual problems, things actually being addressed, they're not that interested. So it's literally only the catnip, right, of MAGA that they're going after right now. So today we ended up having they had a hearing in the assembly about the definition of anti-Semitism. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they dropped the hearing on this right after the young Republican group chat opened up, and all the horrid, racist, homophobic, Nazi, sympathetic stuff leaked out, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have to show how anti-Semitic we are, or anti-Semitic." So there was a hearing today on that, and it was called out for what it is, which is trying to stifle free speech by letting them be the decider of what people can and can't say. There is the other one about they want more guns in more places. So for folks, who are fine with America being the only place in the world where the number one cause of death for kids is gun violence, this is the legislation for you, which is they want to now allow more people with more guns in more places, which will, of course, lead to more shootings, more death, more violence. And this is a function of a very broken system. One of the first people to help rig our democracy was the NRA, and they are still benefiting by this. They know that as there's more shootings, people think they will be safer by buying more guns, and Republicans are playing right into that. So they've got thoughts and prayers for the victims, but they've got nothing but votes and legislation for the NRA and the gun industry. So it's quite frightening. That is the response to the growing violence in the country, is to try and get more people with guns.
What are some of the pieces of legislation that they're trying to push through? Is it open carry? Do you have open carry in Wisconsin? I'm not familiar with the
We
gun
do
laws.
not. No, we have concealed carry. So you can actually we have open carry, but you can't. They're trying to make it so it would be permitless carry, so no one would need to have a permit, and then they could go around with anybody with a gun, right? And again, we don't have universal background checks in our state. We don't have a waiting period in our state. Those things were repealed. The other safe storage is not required. There are things that other states are doing, and granted, we need federal legislation. We need something to actually do to help the nationwide problem, but they're piecemealing us apart, and it's a real problem.
So I actually have a two-parter here to follow up with that. The first of which being, it seems like the guns are a way to try and find a way to placate some people that might be getting frustrated. There's conservatives that work in my building frustrated about the maternity leave that Speaker Robin Vos seems to keep blocking, whether it be just cheaper childcare, whether we fund our schools the appropriate way. Not all conservatives are on board with these ideas, but I guess are you getting a vibe from the people that you work with that some of that constituency is getting fed up with that, and this might be an effort to kind of throw some red meat without having to deliver on any actionable change?
I mean, I think it is part of, you hit the nail on the head there, Ben, right? They only have answers that are in the culture war, right? That it is like, look, let's go after the people that don't look like you. You can cheer on Trump's attack on everybody in the country with melanin. And as that's happening, you don't realize that like the cost of groceries have gone up, that your cost of living is going up, and frankly, that there is going to be, we're headed towards a recession, right? We are just on the precipice of some very dark days in America economically, beyond the authoritarianism. So yeah, them just trying to pit one against another, pit us against each other. Unfortunately for us, right, this requires, to get out of it, it's going to require longer conversations to get people out of it. It's not an individual thing, because how the brain works. They're engaging the amygdala, which is the anger portion of your brain. I'm married to a psychologist. They trigger the amygdala, and you literally have to like calm that down to engage the frontal and the prefrontal cortex to actually get people to be like, wait a second, I'm getting screwed over like they're getting screwed over, right? Instead, it's like a perpetual, it's like getting them out of the car and into a trail. Otherwise, they feel like they're in a constant state of road rage and unable to communicate with other people. So that's essentially the challenge. So individually with legislators, you'd be surprised I can have some of those conversations with my colleagues. But it's just like they feel like they have to engage in road rage and get people honking and screaming at each other. Otherwise, people realize how screwed over we are.
All right, Chris, although the open carry thing is absolutely ridiculous, the fact that you guys only met 7 times, which seemingly, if I remember correctly, is the least active legislature in the country, full-time legislature in the country. That's probably been 10 years running now, I think, in Wisconsin. I do want to ask, I mean, this is concerning, we're going to fall over a cliff, according to Governor Evers, on SNAP benefits in a few days or in a week or something like that. So I wanted to pivot a little bit, because people just need to hear this in Wisconsin. What's going to happen? 700,000 people are going to lose their SNAP benefits in Wisconsin?
So in across the country, but particularly true of Wisconsin, and it's maybe true in Illinois, that they're going to run out of money next month. So we have food share, and even if people have money on their card and they have food share, a request card, or whatever they're using, that is going to run out right on November 1st. And so it's likely that's going to be inactive. And so we've been warning people about this for a couple of days now. And Governor Evers chimed in today to be able to calling on Congress to act to get together so that this doesn't hurt the most vulnerable in our state. But this will be absolutely devastating. So we've been getting calls in the office. Posted this on social media. It was shared over 100 times because people, this is really going to affect people. I had somebody who messaged me directly who said, thanks for the message. I went to the grocery store to stock up because otherwise if November 1st hits and that's the day you're going grocery shopping and you expect to have this and you don't have it, it'll just be devastating for those folks.
Yeah, we have in Illinois, I believe it's 1.9 million people will be losing their funding on their SNAP benefits, and we're scrambling here as well to let people know. And the food pantries are already experiencing shortages because we have people like government workers who are not being paid on top of everything else. What kind of effects are you seeing with the government shutdown in that regard?
Yeah, no, it is, there's a lot of questions about what that's going to be looking like for folks and if the state can fill in. Luckily, we have a little bit of a surplus, but it would require agreement between the legislature and the governor to actually spend that and invest it. But yeah, it's I hate to say it, right? This is a man-made crisis. This is by design. You know, when they hear this falls into the part of what Donald Trump refers to as like Democrat priorities, right? Where he's saying, I'm going to go after these things, but they should be in every major religion. And even those who are not religious believe in taking care of those who are less fortunate, making sure that they're covered. So it's not only hurts our community, it's a very immoral thing for us to be doing. But because they think, well, they're not rich, they can't write campaign checks, so what's the big deal? The problem is this will lead to increased crime of desperation for folks. This will lead to homelessness, which leads to all kinds of other problems because we've basically made homelessness a crime, right, and criminalized that. So this is going to lead to higher crime, unfortunately, from folks who are just looking for a little bit of help in their worst, the lowest point of their lives.
All right, Chris, I wanted to follow up. You know, we keep what I hate when I hear the media talk about this is, you know, they're taking polls on whose fault is this, the Democrats, Republicans. I don't care. You know, what's happening is that our country's being torn apart, and the Democrats, for the first time, Schumer and Jeffries, for the first time, have said, we're going to try to stop you from tearing our country apart. Now, in my opinion, the health benefits is what they're saying they're stopping because our health premiums are going to go sky high. But to me, we're just stopping the damage because if the federal government is funded, then they're going to be funded to hurt us more. How do you think this ends? Are you pleased with the Democrats at the federal level holding the line?
Yeah, I think given they got the message from the first time where Chuck Schumer gave in and didn't really explain his vote in advance. And I think it's meeting the moment, right? And it is the people who are most politically engaged and paying the closest attention recognize the dire strait our democracy is in right now. When you have a 700% increase for ICE funding and they're stockpiling chemical weapons to be used against protesters, this is a huge problem, right? So going back to the normal order of business of tit for tat, or just pretending this is one side versus another. I mean, it's a pretty on the nose metaphor that Trump is literally tearing down a chunk of the White House, which is illegal. He's doing it in broad daylight, and even on this, the Republicans won't stop him. I think it's a demonstration that there is no line that they won't cross if it will benefit Donald Trump and their side. I think part of that is from loyalty, but part of it is fear of violence, right? And it's on us to make sure that the Democrats are pointing that out. Every day we're out, they're out. It gives people a chance to show that we are not in normal times.
Thank you so much, Senator. That's Senator Chris Larson, state senator for the state of Wisconsin. We're joined by Ben Cominos, host of Outside the Box on WHBY. You can go to WHBY.com and catch all of his shows and maybe download the app. Fine, you have an app, you show off. And Kirk Bangstead, our sponsor of Minocqua Brewing Company, of course, here on WCPT 820 for driving it home. And hello to our friends on KKNW and KTNF AM 950. We'll be right back after this with our good news and no Kings conversation. Right back.
Joan Esposito,
This podcast
live,
takes a lot of
local,
work behind
and
the scenes to make
progressive.
Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of the money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of Progressive beer. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells Progressive beer all throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and online to about 30 states. Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy Progressive beer, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace, and we sell everything from nuts to detergents to doormats. Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Brewing Company, who sells progressive beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive, which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. To find where you can subscribe to get Progressive beer delivered to your door every month, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to Apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. Thank you, everybody, and welcome back to the Up North podcast. As always, we try to end the show on an upswing and with some positive news. And obviously, it's Wednesday after the biggest rally that the United States has ever had, the No Kings rally. We have a few pictures that I want to show you later. But before I do that, I wanted to ask our three esteemed guests, what was your most memorable, most emotional, most uplifting experience in No Kings when you were out and about on Saturday? Let's start with Chris. Senator Larson.
You're muted.
Amateur mistake. All right, thank you. I was so excited I forgot to hit the shut off the mute button. I mean, there was a ton, right? But I think just walking up with my kiddos, and granted, they're there for different reasons. My son loves to read the signs. My daughter is there for the dogs, and my wife just like catching up with our neighbors because they're all there. But one of the best ones was there was a guy right when we walked up. First person we saw was dressed as a clown, which was the spirit of the day. And he had a sign. I looked it up because I wanted to make sure I got it right. Qualified for cabinet position. Number 1, shot my dog. 2, drink too much. 3, anti-science, pro-fa. 4, own makeup table. 5, not a beardo. And 6, can do a push-up. And that was it. Just love that guy. Standing next to a windmill cancer survivor. Perfect intro.
Patty.
Yes, I mean, there's so many great moments. We had a tent at the one. I went to 2 events. I spoke at one, and I think for me, a big part of it was meeting people who are listening to our conversations, who tune in every day, and some of them, I mean, like some people just couldn't believe that they were there with me and that we were all together. I think that energy of gathering people, seeing people from all different communities, the wide range of expression, from inflatables, there were unicorns and chipmunks, and of course we had a frog, some Handmaid's Tale. I mean, it's sort of expressing in whatever way. I also went to and there was one woman who like just was almost crying because she was just so glad to know there were so many people that felt the same way she did, and it wasn't out of despair. It was out of sort of soaking in that energy and recommitting to what we need to do. And then the second one I just went to a march and sort of protest event in Rosemont, and I joined a couple of people with inflatables. I was riding an inflatable peacock. Apparently I've been told that saying that because ICE rides peacocks is a long way to go for a joke. No, because at any rate, I made a couple of Rosemont police officers giggle at our costumes. One of my friends was riding a snail, and the other one was riding a chicken. So that was and I have to say as well, the number of people that were reacting because we walked up River Road in an area that has a lot of entertainment, like bars and restaurants and movie theaters. A lot of people honking, truck drivers to sedans, cars filled with families. It was fantastic. I loved all of it. It was great.
Awesome. The thing that resonates with what you said is that so many of us, and I'm much more, I'm guilty of it too. We spend too much time online, and we doom scroll, and we think we're alone because we see all these bots, and we just assume the world is similar to the bots we see, and it's not the truth. This world of social media is a lot more hateful and a lot more scary and a lot more doomsday than the actual world out there. And we have to get outside and touch the grass and see people in the frog costumes to realize that we are on the winning side. And that's really important. Ben, what are your stories? You wrote about a little bit of this on Tuesday, and you had to say.
I was going to lean into this, and I really hope a particular state senator that's part of this is listening to me right now. I don't know if you heard read my column this week, Chris, but I came with flyers for this particular protest this time. First of all, I was expecting it to be 60 people hanging out at Houdini Plaza in Appleton. Like, I didn't expect anything to be major. It was close to 3,000 people. It was absolutely fantastic sight. The streets, I couldn't find parking. Like, it was remarkable what actually ultimately ended up happening there. I showed up. A listener of mine in Florida actually put together a flyer based on a segment I had done earlier in the week on something called the Montana Plan. And what the Montana Plan is in the state of Montana, statewide, they are enacting new laws that are undoing Citizens United on the state level, essentially preventing all anonymous funds from ever entering the political scene. You can do this through a constitutional amendment, but that would require a ton of buy-in. We on the state level, Wisconsin could get this done, and there is uniform support. I had a guy that, I swear to God, in a MAGA hat looked like the Big Show. 6 foot something, 300 pounds, bald head, big beard, comes up to me and says, "Ben, you PO me sometimes," but I love what you're saying, and the money in politics drives me nuts. And this was in the heart of a No Kings protest that this took place. You saw the flyers everywhere, and it definitely brought people together. Protest with a purpose. It's what it's always about. Like I said in the column, if you go without a purpose, it was just a fun parade that we'll always look back on. It's enacting that change. And a small segment of Northeast Wisconsin definitely got the message out there with QR codes and a whole new idea that if you want to talk about media ignoring stuff, I'm not hearing anybody talk about what's going on in Montana right now. We can be doing that here in Wisconsin. You can be doing it there in Illinois, Patty. And it's absolutely awesome that so many people bought into that on No Kings Day.
I didn't know if you'd be able to top Patty's peacock reference, but that is absolutely perfect, man. Like so I haven't read your column yet, but I have had it quoted to me. I've had people, and now that I realize that you are the source of this, like this has been among the progressive nudge fuel right here, where it's people like, have you heard about this? This is a way we can beat the system. So you essentially passed on the message of how to blow up the Death Star by removing money from politics. So the Montana Plan makes a lot of sense. And I think that's, we are absolutely looking at that, because money in politics, that is what has corrupted all of this, right, from the way down. If you look at the how they wrote Citizens United back in 2010, they wrote it would be funny if it was not so dire, but they said, like, money does not corrupt, that is not a problem, right?
Yeah.
As the justices wrote, and that's not something that we should be concerned about. So yeah, there is I think most of the people who were out there were with a purpose, and some of the best parts of that was watching people from who had not known each other before getting to meet each other and seeing each other at this protest, and then in Milwaukee going over to Real Chili and grabbing a bowl with or without noodles. I got into a fight with Ryan Clancy about whether we should have noodles in chili or not. So somebody I normally agree with, who was there witnessing it, it's a Milwaukee thing for those of you that don't know.
Right.
But that's it, right? Like making friends and being able to share information to get us out of what is otherwise a pretty dire situation.
All right, and so this is our little gift to you. Is we're going to have a little montage. I went on our Facebook page and I asked people to show us your pictures of you wearing our merch, because obviously we make money selling the No Kings t-shirts. And so I wanted to show you some of these pictures of people who are protesting, who are wearing some of our stuff. So McKenna is kind of going to go through this guy from Tennessee right here on the left was, he's got a house up in Minocqua and he was wearing his shirt. We had a lady with her dog there. Let's keep on going, McKenna. What do we got here? We have just a bunch of people. I think this was Milwaukee. This was Madison. Let's keep on going. Resisting. What's that face? Yeah, I can't say it online. I think we're in Chicago here. We have the.
I'll say it. Resisting bitch face.
Okay.
Good job, Patty.
I wasn't sure if I was able to do that. We have so many people in Guy Fawkes masks. So we have, there we go. And we have a lady with her No King shirt and the Guy Fawkes mask. We have a great frog, and the frogs are, that's the thing. Frogs and whistles these days. As a marketing guy, that's what we're working on. You're going to see some stuff soon. Let's keep going. Okay, so this is 8647, and it's the T-shirt is somebody squirted a bunch of ketchup on the wall, like Donald Trump squirts ketchup on a wall. And so this guy bought 86 means get rid of, and 47 is the president. So this is one of our shirts here. This guy was wearing this in Massachusetts. He was protesting. We got a 1-star Minocqua Brewing Company T-shirt here because we get 1-star reviews all the time. So somebody was dressed up in one of our shirts and then a little goofy costume. It's hilarious. Keep on going, McKenna. We have Unhinged Woman, which is our #1 shirt of all time, because everyone calls women who speak out, or not everyone, but the trolls call the women that speak out or are too loud, they call them unhinged. And so it just resonates with all the activist women out there, and they take it ironically, of course. We got somebody with a broken tire, never got to the rally, but is still wearing their shirts.
No.
Lady in Appleton, you might have seen her, Ben. She this woman on the right was from Appleton. Let's keep going. Couple more people. No faux king way.
That way you can. Well done.
No.
Say it faster. What happens?
No. I don't want to get her bounced from.
Sorry, Patty.
And lastly, this was go back, McKenna. This was a group of people from the Villages in Florida. The one woman ordered shirts for her whole family, and the Villages used to be just Trump heaven. It's where everybody goes to retire, and the food is like so cheap because everybody's living on Social Security, and they're turning the tide in the Villages. Keep on going, McKenna. Oh, and I think we probably got to end the show, right? Well,
one more description.
This is thank you for just bearing with me and seeing these pictures, and thank you, Patty. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Senator Chris Larson. And until next week, thanks for joining us at the Up North podcast. Take care.
Thank you.
Guys.
And thank you to our sponsors, Minocqua Brewing Company, Source Solar, and Pride Coffee Roasters. See you next time. Bye, Lady B. Love you.